Hello, everyone. Welcome to Kudlow. I'm Larry Kudlow. So this evening, it may not exactly be breaking news, but it turns out that people would rather have a job than a tax hike. In fact, turns out people would rather have a job than vote for tax hikes on other people. Also turns out that even limousine liberals prefer a growing economy to redistributing income. Not all of them, mind you, but most of them. Does my heart good. Metropolitans of both coasts actually prefer a growing economy to redistributing income. They like their limos. Don't want to hand them over, huh? Except for a few like Gates or Buffett, our progressive friends really don't want to pay higher taxes. Of course, the good folks, the middle-income, blue-collar working folks who drive F-150s, not limos, or even smaller pickups, they don't want any more taxes at all. Now, this information comes from a great new poll by my friend Raghavan Mayer. He runs Technometrica Market Intelligence, called TIPS, often contracts to Investors Business Daily, both of which are now owned by News Corp. Mayer has been a top 3 accurate pollster for the last 5 presidential elections. Several times, he is ranked #1. He and I have been pals for a long time, and a couple of weeks ago, he emailed me, would I be interested in a bunch of economic or tax-related polling questions? Of course, I said. Yes, absolutely yes. Mayer termed the results, quote, fascinating, okay? He liked the results. Why is this? Because it shows that if higher taxes cost jobs, then folks don't want higher taxes. How about that? Now, I've been dying to ask this question for decades, because it's so easy if a pollster asks a voter something like, well, why not tax the rich or rich corporations or rich investors or rich inheritances? A lot of voters just shrug their shoulders and say, sure, go after it, go get them. But when it turns out that there's an economic cost in the form of lower jobs, then opinions change. I would argue, by the by, as I have for really over 40 years, that higher tax rates always cost jobs. If you tax something, you'll get less of it. Incentives matter. And you can't have a good paying job unless you have a healthy business. And you're not going to either maintain a healthy business or start new ones without investor cash. So if you wage tax war against businesses and investors, as Mr. Biden is doing, you're really waging economic war against blue-collar, middle-class working folks who comprise the vast majority of the nearly 160 million strong labor force. Now, of course, that's supply-side economics, that's the Laffer curve, but I really think it's plain old simple horse sense. And people who work in business, in contrast to Ivy League faculty members, understand this full well. So, let's take a look at some of these results. I hope we get them right. First chart, raising corporate taxes, okay? The mention of job losses reduces support for corporate tax hikes overall from 60% all the way down to 44%. That is a huge drop, 16-point drop. Even Democrats who love their class warfare, their support drops 15 points from 75 to 60%. Now, it's interesting. Now, look at, this is not just an arbitrary threat of a job loss. I would argue periods of heavy tax hikes like the 1930s or the 1970s produce huge job losses, whereas periods of big tax cuts like the 1920s or the JFK 60s or the Reagan 80s and more recently the Trump pre-pandemic tax cuts, they produced huge job gains. Now, I get it. Not everyone agrees with this supply-side view. Okay, fine, I respect that. But, right now, we're facing a $3 or $4 trillion Biden tax hike, and some very respectable sources are predicting massive job losses. Now, you may not agree with the Tax Foundation or the Wharton-Penn model or the NAM Rice Institute model, but they're all very respectable, and they're all predicting similarly large economic and job losses as a result of across-the-board tax hikes, okay? These are very strong institutions. So if you're going to ask voters what they think about tax hikes, you just need to inform them that they could result in big job losses. Now, here's some more stuff on the subject from this poll. With all the talk today of critical race theory and so-called racial equity, Mayer asked in the TIPS poll, which is a higher priority, growing the economy or redistributing income? Well, look at the results. Growth wins big, very big, 63-25 overall. And even our Democratic friends, 54-33. So they favor growth as well. Now, some more. Do you hate wealthy investors and want to raise their capital gains tax? Well, here too, the threat of job losses reduces support for that from 47 to 37% overall, okay? Even among our Democrat friends, it drops 12 points from 63 to 51, though they still favor it. But it's interesting, job losses reduce. Just pause for a second. 47% are fine with raising the cap gains tax. But then when you put in the threat of a job loss, it drops to 37. I'm just saying, opinions change, don't they, when you speak the truth or you inform the polled voter of the risks properly. Now, turns out almost nobody wants to raise the estate tax anyway. We put it in there, and it just seems like even our liberal friends don't think death should be an incredibly taxable offense. Just look at that, by the way. Raising the estate tax, with or without the job loss, 28, 26%. I mean, you're down, way down. And again, the Democrats, 44%, 41%. Just not much support for raising the estate tax. Now, all this stuff is in the Biden tax package, right? Because he wants to eliminate the step up in basis. That would have a huge impact on higher death taxes. And of course, he wants to jack up corporate taxes, we said earlier. And of course, they're always talking about inequality and the need for equity. They don't talk about growth, ever. Growth is not part of the Biden vocabulary. Now, finally, let's go global. The business of G7 and G20 global tax policies supported by Team Biden and their Euro friends. Well, it's not popular in the first place, okay? Check this out. If you mention potential for job losses, popularity plunges even more, 12 or 13 percentage points across the board. In other words, take a look at this one. You're 46% to 33% supporting it overall. You mentioned job losses, goes from 46 to 33%. That's my point. It's not popular to begin with, and then it'll have the same domestic job loss effect as the domestic tax increases. And then finally, he asked folks whether the U.S. should be giving up its tax sovereignty to globalists like the G7 or the G20 or the OECD. Well, nobody likes that much at all. As you can see, 42% overall like it. That's it. 48% Democrats agree we shouldn't lose our tax sovereignty. President Trump used to say to us in the Oval Office, I was there, Mnuchin was there, Lighthizer was there, this global tax stuff has been going on for several years under discussion. President Trump used to remind us, said the only people that can raise taxes on Americans and American business are Americans, not Europeans. Now, my many thanks to Raghav and Mayer for the Larry Kudlow TIPS poll. And folks, please don't forget, the TIPS poll is, again, it's top rated for accuracy. Way above the New York Times, the Washington Post, NBC, or other large media outlets who will remain unnamed. So I would recommend to my Republican and conservative friends, even fair-minded independent and Democratic friends, the best way to beat the Biden tax hikes is to emphasize the threat of job losses over and over again. Cite some of these economic models from distinguished sources, the University of Pennsylvania, Rice University, the Tax Foundation, and there are many other sources as well. So, with that free